I just busted right inside him, and he can't extend on me anymore, and he seems a little overwhelmed by my girth and tonnage.
Now, do you think that was in reference to a certain Fox Sports analyst?
There's a lot more fun context to be added to things now to go back and look at, and we've already had a bunch of internet sleuths doing a bunch of that, especially for old Mr. Acho. But
also, like, shout out to Stephen A. Smith for really being a ride or die with Skip Bayless. And this whole thing, that's what I learned. That's my takeaway is Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith are still actually low-key pretty tight. Some form or fashion, because Stephen A. did not have to do what he did and did it anyway.
We'll get to some of that here in just a moment. We are back. It's been a couple weeks. We're running a little bit less production quality today, but don't worry about that. You don't need to hear The Rock yelling at you and all that. So yeah, this is Pass the Rock. I am Patrick, as always, joined by two great men, Caesar, aka LCs.
You know, based on what we were talking about, I'm going to mention Santa wasn't the other one getting those stocking stuffed. I'm just going to leave it at that.
And of course, Jacob, aka Bethke.
I'm ready to go. We have way more in store than I could ever imagine, but I somehow feel like we have this mostly summarized in ways we missed a lot of sports time. In a way, we didn't miss much sports time.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a lot going on, so no matter what, there's something to catch up on. There's more than we could ever get to in our normal 3-hour-ish time in a week. But with that, we will hop into some smaller quick hits. I should have written some of this down more than just the generic rundown thing. There's people who died in the last 2 weeks that I thought we should bring up. I already forgot a lot of them. Jimmy Carter, obviously. We'll start with him just because.
And a man may or may not have tried to break in to stab Jimmy Carter today. Jimmy Carter?
That's a
haven't really followed up on that one.
I saw the headline and I assumed that they're like unrelated things, but they're just going to make them related for this story, but we'll see.
Do you think he missed his anniversary by a couple of days?
I think people just do crazy things.
All right, and final one, and this shout out to the Twitter user, Ashley Stabit.
Not the best, not the worst.
Very dad joke.
I feel like there's another, like right around Jimmy Carter, there's another big sports passing that I can't think of right now.
Do you think we can trust an algorithm?
There was one, and I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Famous people died in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll get us there. We heard today about maybe it was last night, about a former MLB pitcher, 37, Brian Mattis, who passed away. No details, but obviously that young, there's probably something pretty upsetting in there.
Peter Yarrow of Peter, Paul, and Mary dies. So that's
I remember that, yeah.
Dude, the Aubrey Plaza's
husband, yeah, the director of
the donkey that they based the Shrek donkey off of.
I guess there wasn't a big sports passing.
Greg Gumbel. Fuck.
There you go. Thank you.
There it is. That one just
sports adjacent.
Oh my God, Ricky Henderson.
And Ricky Henderson.
Oh my God.
Have we not been back since then? Yes, not.
Nope.
Okay.
I think both of those things happened. Damn, I'm glad you at least put it on here because I would have completely forgot.
2 days in the last 2 weeks. I have no idea what's going on anymore.
What about Bob Breyer?
But rest in peace, Bob Breyer.
You racist asshole. What? It's what
I don't even know who that guy is.
It's online. It's there. No, I'm just kidding. It's
what the internet. Are you calling him a racist or me a racist?
No, him a racist.
Oh, okay. I was like, what did I do?
The guy. The drummer from My Chemical Romance.
Yeah, it was the problematic drummer
the
from
original
the most,
drummer.
Woke band ever in a way.
Well, I don't think he was really with them for a long time. So
no, but. Either way, there was a lot of notable deaths here. That was just the one I saw that cracked me up. There's actually a lot this year that are pretty sad, all in all. Especially, the one that the whole One Direction guy. That was kind of wild.
That's unfortunate. Everything, and then obviously
and then 2 terrorist attacks. That also 3 actually kind of now. We don't really know what happened today, but 2 definitely happened.
And those at least one affected sports.
One
So
big time expected sports.
Oh
we
yeah.
got the Sugar Bowl or whatever pushed back a day. Is that what it's
Push-
called?
Yeah,
Sugar
push back
Bowl.
on it.
Push back a day, there were actual IEDs.
IEDs. You heard about the
Um,
people who they originally were saying they thought were involved because they had video of these people messing with these coolers, and then after they got them back and talked to them, they're like, "No, never mind. These guys were just drunk trying to steal free drinks out of coolers."
Respect. No, I
And
did
I'm
not
guessing
see
because it
that,
was so
but I'm
dark at
glad.
night and they were so effed up that they didn't know what they were looking at. So they just like open it. They're like, "Ah, no drinks. Shut it and move on."
Oh my god, that would have been the worst. That would have been a death
That's
so bad they
some.
would have had to bring back the Thousand Ways to Die show just to relive
I
the
was
drunk
thinking
guys
of
that find the bomb in the middle of Bourbon Street on the night
them
of terrorist attack is planned.
them getting in trouble for that was very much felt like an Arrested Development or It's Always Sunny plot line of like the cops all think that they were these involved with the bomb, but nope, they were just trying to get free drinks.
Just
uh,
freeloaders. Yeah,
so
I
yeah, I
mean,
mean,
but
and
it
most
was a
of
very
that's
serious and sad situation.
yeah, for sure. Most of it's been covered to death. I don't think any of us really want to dip our toes into too
No, but
much
it
of
was worth noting on the subject of dead people that a lot of
yes,
a lot of
yes.
bad things in that department have happened since we've spoken to the
I guess,
world.
and no one
No.
except for potentially, depending on what conspiracies you might believe, just the driver died in the Vegas thing, the Cybertruck.
Was there more
Yeah.
people? Yeah, I've never heard
I don't,
anyone
I
but
don't think
him.
anyone got hurt. So
No, everyone's excited about him because he's the cyber guy. He chat GPT'd it. I'm like, dude, chat GPT is just a better Google. Don't freak out.
it, it was funny. I don't know if this was true or not, but I guess you could like look. Someone was able to look up the driving map of the car, and you went to the wrong Las
Oh,
Vegas first, the one in
yeah,
Mexico.
I never saw a reputable outlet do that.
Okay,
Saw many jokes, but never a
it
reputable
just took
outlet
him
say
to Las
anything.
Vegas, New Mexico, which is how I figured out that was a real place.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think there was some. I think there was a lot of like ex-girlfriend calling going on during the road trip as well. It was a strange thing. He apparently also potentially bought the thing with Bitcoin from a famous Bitcoin. Yeah, there's a lot to
well,
this one. Netflix has already got the rights. They're making
I thought
three different projects next year.
the whole thing was that both of those were rented through the Turo or whatever.
Yeah,
The people
that's
like the
also been
Airbnb of cars. Yeah.
people are excited about that, and I'm like, guys, a lot of people use Turo in places that don't have cars like we do.
And then
in
to go back
Dallas.
to the New Orleans one, they had because the guy from Houston, he rented out his own truck, said he's, wherever he is out of town watching on TV, sees that and is like, I think that's my truck. And
No,
that's
yeah,
gotta
I
be
heard,
with the
wild.
nicest flag coming out of the back. That's gotta be a surreal
Jesus.
image.
also fail on that because it took a while for people to even realize what it was. I think they had to say it because the flag just ended up flurling up, and so
I mean,
yeah, just
I
waiting.
don't know. I don't know how many test runs he did to
I
see
mean,
what he needed to do for proper flag structure.
there was some other stuff. I
Sorry.
mean, it being at a college football event, I think was notable.
Well,
in
was it
for
though? I
some
mean,
ways.
or is that coincidental?
Well, I think New Year's Eve before college football thing, it felt
It's
in
just
there.
New Year's Eve in New Orleans,
Yeah,
really.
it seemed like they may have felt like there was potential for it to have had an escalation, or I don't know if this guy like bailed last second and then went with this really ridiculous thing because it seemed like there was a bigger plot, and then what happened. So I don't know. But yeah, New Orleans, Louisiana, they certainly also didn't do a lot of great with their locals because the way that some of the rhetoric that first came out about it was like, "Don't worry, football's fine." And it was just like, "What?"
Well, I mean, there's so much money for people I get it, but also like people do
No,
also have to figure out what they're doing,
they show their ass.
I
They
know.
they show their ass. And honestly, in another sad sports related note, and then you can try to force this into a different direction however you can.
Yeah.
But all of the LA sports scene right now is completely up in the air. Lakers,
yeah,
Hornets
and
possibly postponed.
that'll
Kawhi
affect-
came back. Now he may not play for a while.
that'll
JJ
affect
Redick said his family got evacuated.
NFL playoffs. Vikings Rams are supposed to play Monday.
Fuck. Didn't even think about them
So
hosting.
I'm guessing that game's going to be in Vegas or something, but we'll see.
That is a good pot.
We'll
Well,
get there. We'll get there.
yeah, Inglewood's a little simpler, but yeah. But yeah,
Huh.
there you go.
So that's the sad
The
stuff
Dodger
that-
Stadium should be fine, even though I think it's closest to the fire of all the.
And I don't know how credible this is because obviously it's Reddit threads, but people were talking about where Kawhi lives, and they're like, that house is probably not there.
Yeah,
That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a
Uh,
very
there's a
wealthy
lot.
neighborhood in just south of Malibu proper, and it's a beautiful area. But anytime I've ever been by it, you just look at a mountain full of dead brush, and you're like, how?
Only time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's tough.
It's either that or falling in the water. So
Well, and there's a lot of bad politics that feels like it's probably involved, and so yeah, it sucks. And there's a lot of things other than sports related, but that's worth noting while we're on the subject.
yeah, and then we'll take a hard cut. Just I'll pull the band-aid off. Just to do a quick update on some things happening in baseball.
Yeah.
Locally with the Rangers, we found out today Derek Holland is officially retiring. He's had a couple years of trying to come back and getting hurt and stuff.
Yeah, I thought he was already a TV personality, but it's good to
I
know.
mean, and that's I think what
Yeah.
his next step is going to be. I don't know if the Rangers have a spot for him right now, and I don't even know. I assume he's coming to retire as a Ranger to some degree.
I mean, he's done a lot of like guest spots on the fans.
yeah,
So I would imagine he
shows
would
up.
just
He's
do
friends
that.
with a bunch of guys, but yeah, I think
Well, a
he'd
lot
like
of
to
the
be on
media
TV.
here really
I just don't know
understood.
if-
Like they probably are credited to Derek Holland being so popular with the fans because I think they realized early on that he was a really
but I
really
think
charismatic guy.
he may also be in a situation where he might have been too wild on Twitter from time to time, but we'll see.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Social media
I mean,
use
Basic's made his way back, so it's possible. And we don't know what the Rangers TV thing is going to look like in the future. So maybe they do have a spot for him waiting.
and maybe there's not as much critical opinion on who you
Yeah,
hire.
so
who you
if it's
don't.
team owned, then it's a little different. Yeah. And then I don't even know what we've. I actually don't know what we've missed Ranger wise.
With the Rangers, just a bunch of
we
mediocre
traded off.
pitching.
We traded Owen White off
Chris
for
Martin
some
from
cash. We got Chris Martin
Coldplay.
back. Yeah, this is. I guess this will be his second run with us.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I'm trying to think.
Nothing too major.
I
We
mean,
found out.
overall baseball, it feels like there's some
We've-
bigger moves coming.
Yeah, we're still waiting to
Soon.
see where Sasaki's going to land. It was sounding a lot like LA, sounding a lot like San Diego. No one really knows. I would still guess the Dodgers just because why would you not do that? But he has a lot of friends. And
Kirby
he's-
Yates, Andrew Heaney need to still come home.
Yeah, Kirby could
Yeah.
come back. I don't know what the cost is going to be on that. I think that's kind of where that's being weighed out for him is does he want more money or does he want to come back here?
Heaney's
don't-
just a reliever, though, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they have anyone starting him next year.
And former Ranger Martin Perez signed with the Chicago White Sox, which, like I said last year and was correct, he could be someone's trade target near the deadline if he plays even moderately well. I think he's coming out of the bullpen now.
I pray that the Rangers are not in the market like that, but we'll
I mean,
see.
if he's pitching well enough, I'd be happy to get him for a rental for a playoff run. You know what I mean? If he's just going to be like a setup guy or something, that's nothing wrong.
I'm still
with that. He's
dreaming big
young.
on the starting rotation.
He's only going to turn 34 this year, so I mean, yeah, the starting rotation's all going to be about health.
Exactly.
You know, Jock Peterson. That's who we haven't been back since the Rangers signed Jock
Oh,
Peterson.
yeah,
So-
that's fair.
That's a huge signing, a big bat.
Don't love the number. Just
The-
irrational. No, not the number for money. I don't care about player money.
He's
but
wearing. You don't like him wearing 4?
I don't love 4. It feels washed.
We need one. We don't have a 4.
I mean, maybe that's the hope. I just something
It's
about
also
it.
more of a traditional baseball number for sure, especially since for 50 years they were 1 through 9. So
But he's a guy who's kind of had many a number in his 10
he's
years.
been
so
around.
I guess
sure.
that makes sense.
He's kind of bounced around a lot. And depending on what team you're on, you might not even. If you're on the Yankees, good luck. If you want to wear any specific number that's lower than like 30,
You can
gonna be
blame this.
tough.
You can also blame this on just cowboy pessimism in me. But is there any Lance Berkman like potential
that?
here?
If positively or negatively, what do you mean?
Well, kind of both. Remember how we just got Berkman and we were like, no, this could potentially really like give this team an extra shot at it, and then it ended
No,
up
he's
we were
much.
like,
I think he's much better than Berkman was at that point in his career.
that's good
Closer to Napoli,
because
but
that felt
probably-
like selling.
I
That felt
think-
like selling our
I
soul.
think
for
definitely
nothing.
closer to Napoli. If you're wanting to look
Shit.
for some
Shit,
kind
I'll
of comp.
take. Yeah, Napoli was a great
Um,
time.
Yeah, it's so the bat's pretty much figured out. Outfield's still going to be a little bit of a question. Who knows if Duran all of a sudden looks a little bit better this year, if Tavares squares things up a little bit better this year. There's some questions. Jankowski's open; he can go anywhere, so I don't know who he's going to sign with. Hopefully, it'd be cool to have him back. But
Yeah,
I don't know. He might command a lot more money going to play for a crappy team somewhere. So
I mean, I respect that, but he'll be back. Just like when the what was it, Grossman did that this last year and came back, even though he
yeah,
was just a rental again.
we'll see. But that's pretty much it. Jock Peterson, the big deal going on, and that's huge. Honestly, it'll get talked about obviously more as the season comes. But it's a really good sign that they haven't just completely folded on spending money after winning. So that's I like to see that.
This has been a good off season mostly. It's just like one more thing. Give me one more thing. That's all we ask.
Please and thank you.
I think that
being
one more
really
thing is going to
greedy.
be whatever the hell the TV plan is, but there's still nothing. Haven't really heard anything on that. And then another quick pivot here. We'll bounce to our other local team that I sort of cover, the Dallas Stars, who, you talk to some fans, then the ceiling's on fire, everything's crashing, but they're actually kind of coming back into form a little bit the last few games. Things are looking a little better.
What's the
Ending
record?
everything up high right here. So they've got 51 points. They're 7 points behind Winnipeg, but they have 3 games in hand. So you win those. They're basically a half game back of first in the division, essentially. If they win out those extra games, But the power play, which is the big concern this year, the last week has come back.
What's new? It's always the power play. The Dallas power play Stars.
When we had Pavelski, it was really good.
Jerry won't spend money, and these fucking Stars won't
what's
fucking
crazy
get a power
is,
play.
so it's Pete DeBoer, who's the Stars head coach. He has his assistant coach, Steve Spott, who's the power play coordinator, who's been his power play coordinator with the last 3 teams he's been with, I believe, and that's been an issue with everyone except when we had Joe Pavelski. So, they got to figure something out there, but it's kind of looking better the last few games. We did have a kind of a brutal injury with Mason Marchment took a puck to the face. And, they're very vague with hockey injuries. Obviously, we knew his face was hurt. But we didn't know how bad it was. It looked really bad. But instead of being even more vague, they're saying week to week, and they're not putting him on the IR, so that hopefully means he'll be able to come back soon. Saw Brett Severin during the intermission report reported that the Stars and Matt Duchene are working on a new contract, so he'll definitely be back next year. He's been huge since coming over from Nashville. No idea why the Predators decided they just didn't want him anymore.
That's good. You needed a little bit of that to win a
with
championship.
Sagan out, he's stepped up. He's got the A on his jersey, his sweater right now. So I'd love to bring him back. But things are looking all right. They came back. They were down 3-0 in the first against the Rangers last night. Came back and won that game, including an overtime power play goal, which was like.
Was that here or was that in New York?
That was in New York. It was in New York. But when it went to overtime, they got a penalty. Most of us were like, "Ah, crap, we're gonna lose on a shorthanded goal. This is over." That's what we've been conditioned into so far this year. So it was nice to see that turnaround. Yeah. So that'll be pretty much it on that. And then I thought we might spend a couple minutes here talking about what we teased a little bit with the intro, and that is the Fox Sports lawsuit going on right now.
Oh yeah.
Was it Fox Sports specifically named, or was it just the exec?
Fox Sports specifically is named because HR is called out for knowing about allegedly. So there's a lot in this lawsuit, a lot alleged by a hairdresser. I'm not going to pronounce her name right. Does anybody have a good go at that one?
No.
Right.
Not a chance.
Just say the first, Faraji, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's the way I've heard it being said. I accidentally typed in login instead of lawsuit. I don't know how that worked. And then you can break me in on what Stephen A. Smith did here in a minute.
Oh, yeah. 42 page.
Okay, yeah, Nushin or Nushin.
I love how they put the name in these.
Faraji.
Number.
So she was a hairdresser for Fox Sports from 2012 through last August. And in this filing, she alleges that Joy Taylor, who was host of, what was it called? The first one? Undefeated. Undecided.
Yeah,
Undisputed.
Okay, there you go.
So she was originally the host on Undisputed with Skip and was that Skip and Shannon at that point?
Skip and Shannon.
Skip.
And then now she's one of the hosts of Speak for Yourself with Keyshawn and some other people.
Oh yeah, Keyshawn, Paul, Georgia, and Michael Playmaker Irvin, as we saw this in one of the funnier clips.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that too. But so the hairdresser alleges, as she learns about a bunch of this throughout. I'm not gonna break down the exact timeline, but basically that Joy Taylor, after being a radio host and bartender in Florida, moved to LA and somehow got in touch with and had an affair with a Fox executive, Fox vice president in charge of Fox Sports.
You're very stereotypically looking old white
Charles
dude.
Dixon? Something Dixon. Call him Charles. It might be Charlie. And that is what landed her her big host break on Undisputed. Part of the allegations is that Skip wasn't a fan of bringing her in, and then they were supposed to have some kind of dinner, and that didn't go well. But then the exec was like, "Come on, bro," and Skip eventually was like, "All right, cool, no worries, bro." I guess I don't really understand. They don't really tell you how that got resolved.
You started saving right then and there.
Yeah. And then it turns into Faraji alleging that Skip starts trying to put moves on her, trying to solicit her. This is where it gets kind of wild because it's stuff that you can kind of believe Skip would say, but you're not really sure. Like the last encounter where she says, "Skip, stop, you're married," and he says, "Aren't you Muslim? Didn't your dad have 3 or 4 wives?"
No, it does feel like even in that moment he would be like, "I have to argue the point."
It's like it feels like maybe
No,
an
I will not
SNL
admit it. I have to argue.
characterization of Skip, but I can also believe it. And then allegedly he offered her $1.5 million to have sex with him, which is an odd amount. Don't know how you get there. If he was like, "This is where I'm going to start low, so that she'll meet me at then she'll ask for 5, and then I'll say 3."
To which Stephen A. Smith said, "I don't see Skip doing that. He's kind of cheap. He wouldn't even lend $5. So if roasting the homies ever worked, I guess this is a good time." But yeah, and I thought that was wild. Stephen A. would stick his neck out there and discuss this like that.
And then the other claims, and there's less about this in the actual lawsuit itself, is that Joy Taylor was sleeping with Acho as well. And when the hairdresser asked her why she would do that, that might make the vice president guy mad, she was like, "I have enough power now, it doesn't matter." So there's that. And
well, that's a hell of a statement.
Something that I didn't really know about because I hadn't read everything until I heard someone covering it yesterday is that there's that weird bit at the end where it mentions like, and she works for Colin Cowherd and he's been the best. And Colin Cowherd and I believe Shannon Sharp have the same agent. And both of them kind of come off looking a lot better than everyone else involved in this lawsuit.
Yeah, no, I mean, Colin Cowherd's publicity is very good today. But there's also picture evidence of Colin Cowherd being. It's funnier because like there's like him
not harassing a woman.
Yes, essentially there are the spies. I mean, because basically what this has done to the public is it has caused another awful wave of just the typical. Honestly, it's very much celebratory. We told you women in sports shouldn't, all the stuff that Mina Kimes has worked hard for. This Joy Taylor story just set ablaze for not
That's
permanently.
I haven't even
for the moment
caught that angle.
I think it's also a product of what the artist formerly known as Twitter has become. I think part of that is definitely in play here.
Now, the ones that are usually getting a lot of that ire besides Mina Kimes are Joy Taylor and what's her name that hosts First Take, Molly something?
Yeah, and of course the Molly Queeram thing where she was married to Jalen Rose, but then people have made very wild claims about her and Stephen A. Smith's relationship over time. I don't know if that's ever even come remotely close to being proven true or not. Don't really follow that stuff very well, but yeah.
But it's just a wild. I didn't expect. I didn't have this on my bingo card coming out like this. And then the clip. That's what I should have brought over to the show. It's the clip of their very first episode post that lawsuit dropping and just the awkward.
She's wearing the most clothes that she's probably worn in like 30 years.
Yeah, and you've got all three awkward standing ex-athletes. Keyshawn Johnson throwing a pitch even though it's not baseball season. Paul Pierce just sitting in the back kind of casually. And then I don't know what Playmaker's doing ever, but I love him, and he's never wrong about anything in my book. And
he's sitting there going, they got Skip and they didn't get me.
even the famous I think it's McIver is the guy's last name. Even that story, I still side with Playmaker. He should have got out of the
guy
chair.
Stabbed in the neck.
Yeah,
that's just what we know about.
That's just what we know about. True. No, honestly,
Michael
Michael
Irvin's definitely on like the Snoop Dogg path, except he still kind of gets in trouble every once in a while.
But yeah, he's got on like the most dapper, just like I think it was like all black, and he's got like a white sweater tied around his neck. He couldn't be looking any more wholesome if he tried.
And yeah, obviously the big joke was that is this a COVID rerun? Are they all socially distancing because of they're all crammed on the right side of the screen, and she's on the far left side of the screen.
Do you think that's a choice that they made off camera, or is that like
honestly, yeah, they
subconsciously?
Anything, I wouldn't be surprised.
That's a thing where they're like, my wife's already asked me so many questions about this, and I haven't even been back to work yet.
So I don't know.
Next to her on camera.
The thing is, though, I don't know enough about Keyshawn and what he's got going on. And I'm never quite sure.
They all have at least one person they don't want to answer questions about this.
So
too.
I don't
at
think
least
that's
one,
the case,
not more.
Because we have recent tape. I believe it was the Boston Celtics championship this past season, where Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett were live watching it, and Paul Pierce just drunkenly is like telling KG about call girls and where he can find them, and KG's like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Paul Pierce is one of the absolute.
You can't stop the truth from
the truth.
He is the truth. I mean, you're getting the truth with Paul Pierce.
Well, yeah. What are you supposed to do? So yeah, we'll see what comes of this, if anything. I wouldn't be surprised if Skip's done working on mainstream TV for the rest of his life. He's already 73.
Pretty old. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he hops on Patreon, Substack, YouTube, or whatever, and has his own.
He's probably already on YouTube. I would guess, right?
I don't think he has his own thing going, but he probably has an account. He just doesn't have. He's not like regularly doing a show that's just not his regular.
He may
show.
also have a something in his contract where he's not allowed to appear for a bit. So
do not competes are tough. It's really tough to enforce right now. I'll just say that.
I mean, I'm sure. I just don't know. Not an ESPN non-compete. That one you usually get locked up pretty good. Zach Lowe. We have not heard from Zach Lowe since ESPN fired him, and he's like easily someone's gonna.
He was before the rules changed.
Yeah.
So technically, his thing got tossed then when those rules changed. But yeah, I guess if it is Disney, you probably just don't even want the hassle.
Yeah.
Or if you get some kind of severance, that might be pending on you staying quiet for a bit.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know what they were supposed to do, but I'm honestly surprised they had her on air the next day.
Yeah, I mean, I guess she's got her right to defend herself in court, and they have it would be a shit show to just kind of move on quickly like that. So I think
well, I could see how that could be a way of protecting her and the network to just not have her out there for just a little bit.
But it's Fox. Who are protecting you from what? This is your brand. Paul Pierce is sitting on stage. Michael Irvin is next to him.
Yeah. So
again, Keyshawn, I don't know if you really belong in all these categories, but you're here anyway.
Yeah, so it's pretty wild if any of that is true, or however much of it is, or who knows. And then I'm also confused of how long do you, and so we didn't mention this, is supposedly HR, she's also accusing HR of covering for all these people.
Which is probably the most believable.
Yeah.
I mean, this would have happened about a decade ago right now, or at least 5
so she was hired in 2012, and the last thing with Skip was probably in the last 3 years. So
yeah. So I mean, yeah,
because she ended up fired last fall. either
I'm not
23 or
shocked.
24. 24, August of 24. Yeah, so anyways, we'll do one more quick thing here before we do some hoopity hoops, because I found out last night that there's a new indoor golf league, professional golf, called Tomorrow Golf League.
Did you bring a clip to the
I did
class today?
not, because my current technology blocks are I could have figured it out. I just didn't. So initially, this thing started with Steph Curry, Andre Iguodala, Shaq, Dwayne Wade, Kevin Durant, Lewis Hamilton, so many Shohei Ohtani. There's a bunch of people.
Very unbelievable.
But it's
Mhm.
Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy are like the two founders, with some guy named Mike McCarley, who is
I respect how much
He's a
LeBron
suit.
just does not like golf
Um,
because like he's never
he
like
doesn't have
you'll never
time. He's
find his name
balling.
anywhere near
That's why he's the GOAT.
golf.
'Cause he's
You'll never
playing
find it like
basketball.
it's just no. It's he's the one exception to the basketball rule. You will find any great basketball player
Was
around
Kobe
golf.
playing golf?
He probably would have played, but yeah, he was never.
Not
You
not
would
while he was
probably
in the
not good. He was
NBA
probably not
though.
good.
Yeah.
He's probably not good at it. Yeah.
But anyways, it's interesting, and it is full up with actual top of the world professional golfers. There's 6 teams based out of. We have the Atlanta Drive, the Boston Common Golf, the Jupiter Links Golf Club. That's Tiger's team, obviously. The Los Angeles Golf Club, Venus and Serena are co-owners. The New York Golf Club, owned by the Mets owner Steve Cohen, and the Bay Golf Club, which is Steph and some guy I've never heard of. Arthur Blank owns the Atlanta team, and the Fenway Sports Group owns Boston.
So we missed out on the first round.
That's the thing I'm most surprised about is Jerry didn't get into this, because this would be, you could put this in the
Screw
middle of.
Jerry, dude. There's plenty of
Well, I
other
just
people you
mean,
could use
He
to
could have put
find that
he
market
could put
for
this
Dallas.
inside his
Who's
stadium.
Byron Nelson? That's a solid course.
Well, you
There's a
gotta-
lot of rich people that golf here.
And yeah, I think like 25% of the PGA or something like that all live here.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
dude. Actually, what are we talking about? The last like 4 or 5 Longhorns have been
You get-
Dallas kids.
you get a lot.
Sure.
But and then this was a weird thing. I think it was supposed to start last year, and they held it out a little bit longer. So there's a specific arena they have built in Florida for it, because it's kind of a weird, unique setup. So it starts. It's a team thing. You're competing as teams against each other. It's all teams of 3, or maybe not. It's like 5 or 6 actually.
This is the one that looks like a giant studio with a.
So yeah, and it's kind of. I think you can definitely tell they need to work some kinks out, but I did enjoy it. I can see the concept lasting. 'Cause it's just January through March, like one night a week on ESPN, basically. So it's not a lot, but it's something for them to do.
I wonder if they're uploading all of this to YouTube or if they're keeping it behind paywalls.
I
That's the other
bet
interesting part.
this year they're gonna put everything out for free to try to build the hype on it. But you start
What's it called again? The
TGL, Tomorrow Golf League.
TGL. Oh yeah.
So you start off teeing off into a giant screen that's like 60 feet by 60 feet. And there's a virtual golf course on there. Some of them are pretty normal. Some of them got wild. There was some lava involved.
DJ Khaled gets Ludwig.
That DJ
10
Khaled.
10
DJ
chain.
Khaled was the worst part of the broadcast last night, if you can believe that.
I'll always
But-
believe that.
Another one.
The cool thing, I think, especially for people who are really interested in golf in any way, is they have this actual green that's behind them. So eventually, after your tee shot and your approach shots, you get onto this actual green. And the green has actual bunkers with sand. It's got actual rough and actual green. But underneath it's like several hundred hydraulic jacks that, depending on what the green's supposed to look like, it just shifts and moves and makes a new shape for whatever this hole is. And that part's really cool. And there's a bunch of
Alright.
small stuff in it. They have a hammer that you can throw down the hammer, and it makes the hole worth 2 points. And there's a bunch of little rules with that I didn't really pay attention to because I was playing NHL 94 at the time.
Nice.
But it's somewhat interesting. I'd like them to. There's a lot that they could do. The players are mic'd up, and so they'll go to it sometimes, but they have to be careful other times, I'm sure, about what they do and don't air of those
Blood.
guys saying. The players get their own little music for when they're teeing off, which is it's a little weird if after watching golf for 30 something years or whatever to hear like Coldplay playing while someone's about to tee off, but it happened.
When I rule the world.
Yes, it was definitely Viva La Vida. Someone was using Muse. Someone was using DMX Rough Riders anthem, which was cool.
Rough Riders anthems?
Yeah.
They don't fuck with thugs? Certain thugs? Certain kinds of
I don't
thugs?
remember. I don't remember who it was, but I heard a bunch of stop, drop, shut 'em down, open up shop. And that was one thing. I wish they would have cycled through more than one song for each guy because that got a little annoying. But
Oh yeah,
you
it's
know,
like
there's
in
a lot
the
of cool
NCAA
stuff.
football game where you just hear Mo Bamba 1,000 times or the same
Yeah,
5 times.
all I
Right.
turn on for that is crowd and field volume.
That's smart. I might have to go into the settings too.
There's
It's getting a little played out.
there's potential here. Like I said, it paces better. Obviously, since the players don't have to walk the entire course, they're not trying to play 800 guys at once. There's definitely some potential here for something that's going to happen for a couple hours a week for less than a quarter of the year. I'm in. I'll keep watching.
Yeah, honestly, this looks promising. They didn't have the whole thing on YouTube, but there's little clips up there that
They
you can kind of
didn't,
get the idea.
and that game, that unfortunately for their first match, it was as big of a blowout as it could have been. So it was tough to keep following when you knew the other team could never come back. New York looked trash. I think an interesting thing that I saw brought up was it would be cool to restructure the teams a little bit because there's no women involved right now. You could easily have them out there. There's no reason why you couldn't. I think it would be funny to have just like a random schlub off the street on every team.
Well, honestly, no, not even just random schlub. I mean, let fucking honestly, 2 different types of people that would be funny. I think we need to make fun of billionaires more. And so if you can get any of those idiots to say yes to it, please, let's please ridicule billionaires as much as possible. But if you, and likely you can't because they're all cowards, then you would go to celebrities or you would go to like NBA players that are like, dude,
No, I
know
I
I'm
just think it'd
good.
be
I know I'm
funnier. I think it'd be funnier just to grab some random person like out of the crowd, like Wheel of Fortune, Price is Right style. Maybe they don't even know how to swing a golf club, and that team's got to figure that out.
That's a hell of a variable. How much money
Yeah.
is on the line? Did they
Dude,
give
it's huge. It is actually a ton of money for what you would. Let me pull
golf
it up, 'cause
makes
I
a
remember
lot.
hearing
It's
about
probably
it.
still chump change compared to the pro golf tours. You know,
One second, give me a second. I know I heard this.
that was honestly that's the best part of Happy Gilmore, and I hope that it's only paid off more in Happy Gilmore 2, which is a thing we all have to
There's a
understand. is
$21
happening.
million purse for the winning team.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
Nice.
This is year
golf money-
one.
Tiger Woods proved it. Golf money's different. You can rule the world with
And it
golf
wasn't
money.
until recently they even got actually paid something sort of close to what they're bringing in. You know what I mean? Like they were kind of getting screwed until the whole live thing happened, and now the PGA is opening up the purse a little bit.
Dude, I hope that Tiger's son is the truth. Not to put that pressure on him, but I just
Oh.
want to see it happen. I
am
want
a
to see
little-
I'm seeing old Rory, and I'm like, man, I thought Rory was going to be the guy. And then Speed
Scotty.
was there, and I
Scotty,
think
bro.
he's
Scotty's
shit.
got it right now.
Scheffler's got. I mean, he's in the seat.
Listen, the young Woods hit that hole in one. That's just him. That's his arrival right there.
No, we have to
And
let the
telling
young
the
man grow. He has to learn to love the game more.
The one thing I'm most disappointed in, I think, about this is that they're just still wearing boring ass golf clothes. Like I really wanted some like sleeveless basketball style jersey. Can you
Yeah.
imagine the Nike sales for a Woods like jersey?
What's up, Tiger, bro? Call up John and be like, "Yo, you're the creative director for the tour."
What are we doing?
John Daly designs every team's uniform.
Oh
Come
my God.
on, man.
Well, I want like basketball
Easy.
style. I want basketball style jerseys, or I can't think of it. Maybe hockey sweaters would be cool, but it'd be tough to play golf. with long
Everybody
sleeves,
mocks
probably.
the sport, so one team's the basketball team, one team is the hockey team, one team. I could get into that. One has to coach with the manager.
Each person on the team is a different sport, so that you can sell
You have
each
to
individual
golf.
one.
ice skate.
Oh my God.
There's
All
a
right.
lot of potential for gimmicks. There's a lot of potential for this could be built.
But
Just
I think you
obviously the green with all the hydraulics is going to be tougher to recreate at a cheaper level, I'm sure. But
it's just
this-
about
this
whose
could
audience.
exist.
Whose audience are you trying to grab? Like, are you trying to entertain old heads, or are you actually trying to get a younger
No,
audience?
this is clearly. I mean, even though they didn't change really that much about how they actually play, this is definitely what I could easily foresee this as being what golf, the more popular version of golf at some point, which is sad, but
No, it's
No.
not. It tracks a lot of things actually.
this can easily be more cut up into, it just looks wild. I shouldn't make too many bold claims, but it's interesting at the very least. We'll see if it lasts.
It's canceled next year.
I doubt it. I think these guys are going to keep pouring
No.
money.
That's a lot of backing. And it's obviously got a good plan, so I think it works. But I do have to bust ESPN's balls.
It was pretty wild. DJ Khaled was terrible. Him trying to do player intros, where he's like trying to just do like the stadium thing where you yell the person's name, and either the audio is just mixed terribly for TV or they don't have enough people in there.
They didn't
It's just
have
kind of
enough
him.
people in
It's just
there.
kind of him yelling, not a big reaction.
And are they
then this
people who are gonna
awkward
get
golfer
live?
just walking? Well, yeah, I think a lot of people wanted it to be a recreation of that Waste Management Open. I think it's the 16th hole where it's like completely enclosed in seats
Oh,
and people
yeah,
like throw beers and shit. I think that's what some of us were hoping for with this. Obviously, they can't be too close because it's dangerous, and I think the cameras need to be able to get completely around the guys from pretty far to be able to properly track the shots for the virtual part, I would guess. But I think they could cram some more people in there. Like I said, it's surprising to me Jerry didn't try to buy into this and build his own over here because
Don't include Jerry anymore.
he has Frisco, Arlington. He could put this anywhere.
Stop including Jerry and everyone else. Do your part to help a local Cowboys fan and just stop giving him attention, stop answering his calls. Treat him like he treats the Chicago Bears.
Oh. Well, with that transition, we're not going to get anywhere into that until later, but we will go ahead and move into what we missed in Hoopity Hoops.
Oh, yeah. Look, we got a Texas basketball here. There you go. A little stage set for a lot of things to catch up on. Mostly, we'll start with the Texas two-step. The Mavs are hurting, and the Spurs are semi-surging. Kind of, it's good.
They're keeping themselves above what the bar was before the season.
Yes, I think mostly healthy, but shorthanded is the way I would describe them now.
Losing that game, the second one to Denver, was rough.
Yeah, I mean you have one of the better national games that's happened in the new year. The new year has turned. It was a good Christmas day. We've got this really fun slate of games that's happened since. There's been some argument about how they've been marketed, but tonight we have a big matchup with OKC Cleveland on right now, and then I think Spurs Bucks after this. So a pretty good night. Moving forward, and then like we teased with the Mavs, Kyrie and Luka out basically a month right now. They beat the Lakers team last night that either, at best was concerned with the fires happening in Los Angeles, or at worst is another team desperately needing more
in
trades.
LA?
No, they were here in Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah, they were in Dallas. And I watched the first half of the game. They started to lose the momentum of the game in the middle, but they always were just sort of tied with a very shorthanded team, and effort looked kind of bad. I always think the jerseys for the Lakers is a big deal because they just, for some reason, you have great branding historically, just like the Celtics, and then they will just bust out the worst alternative uniforms you've ever seen in your life. And you're like, no. Everyone else does alternatives, but you two teams don't. You two keep your colors, do the traditional because y'all have the cool traditional.
Unfortunately,
don't reach. If you're gonna reach, do that blue one.
I'm just glad we've gotten the Spurs through the camo years for a little while at least.
Oh God, no, they're gonna come back when.
Yeah, it's okay to be part of the rotation. It just doesn't need to be every single alternate jersey.
But then that gets me on the Mavs not doing green and how much that pisses me off. And I hope the Adelsons change that because fuck that. The green it's literally our city colors, Mark. You fuck. So I don't know. Blue and green just looks cool.
You can't blame him for this year's City Edition jersey, can you?
No, I don't even know.
The weird silver and white thing.
But now they're just kind of barely changing it so they can have more designs for the next 10 years. So they know they have to change it every season, like 5 times. I
also wonder if a new stadium might mean a little bit of a rebrand.
That is possible.
That's
we're still not. Yeah, we're still really not any closer to understanding that puzzle yet. other news around the NBA. Because we're really just going to do quick fire because we got a lot of college football and a lot of pro football. Jimbo pressed the button in Miami, demanded a trade. They were like, cool, so you're suspended.
Which I'm still wondering.
Isn't really, it feels like a suspension, but
conduct detrimental to the team? Is that what they cited?
Yeah, I mean, that's the easy one. I don't even know if it was an official suspension or if they've just kind of done the thing that other teams do where they're just like personal reasons. Like PJ Tucker just hasn't been a part of the Clippers.
It was reported as a suspension, so I would think someone used that word somewhere.
It was reported. I just don't know if I ever saw anything from the official league stuff, but it may have happened. Or maybe Miami did post about it. They do it weird. Yeah, it does get us thinking about the trade season. Now that we're past the new year mark, this is the part of the NBA season where it gets interesting. We have a very middle pack heavy West and East. We've got some top heavy contenders. Like I said, we have teams like the Mavericks who are just a little unhealthy right now, but do feel like a good team otherwise. So lots to be interested in, but more teams that need to figure out pieces than pieces available, which should make the trade deadline fun. Jimmy Butler really kicking everything off is just kind of the formality here. So January 15th is the first time that we'll get all these guys back to be able to be traded, with the exception of a few re-signing players that are just shit out of luck. And then your February 6th trade deadline is the big one. I think next week we'll probably lean into fake trades since I think we'll have more time with things slowing down on all football ends. But we'll see how much we actually want to do. There might actually just be trades to talk about before now and then. But yeah.
One second. I didn't realize the cat snuck in here. You can keep going. I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah, so the Miami Heat did some interesting stuff here. They basically have shopped him around. It seems like Memphis was almost ready to hone in on a deal. And then Jimmy Butler was like, yeah, you know how I said I wanted to play anywhere but here? Actually, what I meant by that was not Memphis. And actually what I meant by that was specifically Phoenix. And then people have started putting breadcrumbs together. Like there was a clip from early in the season where he apparently wrote in and was like, I'm not signing autographs. Don't worry, Phoenix Suns fans, I'll be back. Now Brad Beal is getting benched in Phoenix so that they can try to get him to use his no trade clause or to lift his no trade clause. And then, so God, it's just a bit of a clusterfuck. Keep in mind, Bradley Beal makes $50 million. And this is the hardest time to trade in the history of sports, in any sport, in my opinion. I don't have enough real knowledge of other sports and how hard it's been to trade in their histories. But what the NBA has done with their new CBA has basically handicapped the shit out of most teams. And yet they're expected to move a $50 million player. Unless it's for Jimmy straight up, it really is hard. So I guess either everyone's going to hold guns to the head until Phoenix and Miami make this trade, or it's someone else is going to get involved. Either way, Kings fired Mike Brown, and then they started winning. I didn't really love it because I like Mike Brown. I think he's a good coach. He wasn't playing one of their more useful role players that's more of a glue guy, and I think that's been helping them. They've also favored a little bit of having not having De'Aaron Fox on the court for as far as the easy schedule has come into play here. They've been able to take care of the teams that they've played over this span since Mike Brown's fired. Former Kings player Doug Christie is now their head coach. And so I think it's interesting. There's still rumblings that they're going to trade Fox. He's injured for a little bit right now. They're winning. They just fired the coach. So I guess it would be plausible. I do find that just something to look at as far as the title swing. I think the only player that could really get traded other than Jimmy Butler that could potentially swing the title is De'Aaron Fox. But then again, it's probably like Houston or somebody who would just kind of be getting an upgrade to a team that really isn't a title contender yet, even though Houston's second best team in the West, technically. I think realistically they would not do well in the playoffs against the more veteran teams. Zion, Paolo, and Kawhi are all basically back, except for what I said about Kawhi earlier. He's taking time away from the team for who knows how long, but at least he's healthy, I guess. Zion looked great, and then Paulo Banchero should be playing tonight, probably as we speak. And then finally, the weekly Hoopla will return. I had plenty of other things to do in the time between, but I will return, and I'll probably update the voting award odds because I think it's probably hilarious at how much that's changed since the first video I did with that and right now. I think Draymond Green is nowhere near Defensive Player of the Year. The Rookie of the Year stuff is nowhere near where that was, I think. So, yeah, I think that's probably a pretty funny one to look at now.
How's my Wembanyama MVP bet looking?
Probably not
Gonna have
great.
to win some more games.
Yeah, it's not like the hardest time, but SGA might be running away with it for sure.
It was tough losing that second Denver game because he had like a 20-20 that night, and it's like, come on, guys. But I also understand a back-to-back against one of the toughest teams in the league is not going to be easy to win. So,
well, against one of the toughest players in the league, let's be real about the Nuggets. The Nuggets are amongst about 15 teams in the NBA, and I'm not shitting you guys, that are all around 500, like, or a game or two above it. Even the Mavericks are 21-16, and a lot of that is recent losses because they've been hemorrhaging since the two players have been out. But the rest of it is it's a clusterfuck. The whole thing is clusterfucked on both sides in the middle. So there's so many teams that have a real question of, do we make a trade to actually try to get better and win a championship, allegedly? Or do we sort of say, hey, this is what it is, let's play the season out and move forward? Spurs kind of being one of the biggest ones in my mind, because that is a team that looks awesome in some regards, but it doesn't have enough dudes. Like, very clearly, of all the teams that may or may not, they clearly do not have enough dudes. And so I think that would be a team that would benefit from maybe cashing in on some trade assets, maybe their De'Aaron Fox's location, and that really takes the Spurs to a different level this season. So, I mean, who knows? He's a Houston kid, so I think that's why people have tied him to the two South Texas teams the most. But I'm sure the whole league would be after De'Aaron Fox if he was made available.
I'd be remiss if we didn't mention Dunk the Halls, which you can see some clips of on Bethke's weekly Hoopla.
Yeah, the last one was. I think that was a good place to leave us for a bit.
It was fun.
We had a blast. I was way too entertained by it. Donald Duck was going nuts. So sicko mode.
I did wonder, because I didn't ever go back and see who this was, but I wonder if the guy was mad when he found out that he got replaced by Minnie Mouse, whoever that was.
I think it was Chris Paul a couple times.
No, Chris Paul was Mickey Mouse.
Or was it Jalen Brunson?
It was someone on the Knicks.
Yeah, it would have been a Knicks play. Oh, I think it was Josh Hart for a second, because Donald Duck was Mikal Bridges. Because he did the whole 3-point thing, whatever. So it was amazing.
Goofy with the what's his name, gate and arms was that was fun.
I was dying because my family doesn't know what the fuck they're watching, and I'm just like, I am just in absolute stitches because that looks so much like Karl Anthony Towns, but it's just animated Goofy, and I'm like, I know both Goofy and Karl Anthony Towns way too well. My brain is just like not understanding the concept of what's happening in front of me. And yeah, it was a great time. 10 out of 10 would watch again.
I'll say that's going to be ESPN's new thing going forward. I wonder if they're going to do it with baseball, but I don't think it's going to be nearly as exciting.
I feel like baseball has a good chance of being fun for that. Yeah.
Honestly, that'd be the easiest one to do.
It would make it seem like it.
There's less real-time movement.
Yeah, it feels like hockey would be a bitch.
I don't know if it'd be any more difficult than the NBA is. The NBA has the whole vertical aspect as well that other sports aren't really dealing with. So
I want them to do a Premier League game or like a World Cup game and just send like a whole country into a fucking panic rage. Just, how could the bloody Americans, the bloody capitalism?
Enough people would like it. It would work. If it's Disney, you'll always have that split, but enough people love it that they'll keep doing it. And it was The animation's getting better. I don't know.
Yeah, I
I
thought
don't
it
know
was
what the delay was
incredible.
like. I don't know what the delay was like on that one versus how the football ones go, but
Yeah, I didn't watch the DeMulti thing on that one, so I think it was fairly behind, but not as
it would
bad.
have to be at this point.
Wasn't as bad as when the Bengals Cowboys thing was like a whole like possession behind.
Which again, it kind of has to be like you need to, you got to stay off Twitter if you're gonna watch it. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I think that'll wrap up the first part of this show, and then if you join us in the next part, we'll probably be talking about the college football playoffs
With a lot of fucking
and
Foosball,
assorted
baby.
bowl games.
a lot of fucking college football.
Bye.
Let's go.